Hello and welcome to this review of WD blended Scotch whiskey imported from Scotland. Okay, quality guaranteed Winn-Dixie Liquors. The company established in 1955. I bought this, well, the store is half a mile from me. I think I actually bought it at a different one, which they're currently turning into an Aldi. The one on US Highway 61 in Metairie. Aldi bought Winn-Dixie in 2024. But anyway, looks like they're going to keep this one on Winn-Dixie here. They're changing over some of the stores or whatever they want to modify them. It's their company now. However they want to modify them. So anyway, I bought this one because I think this store didn't have it that day, and I was over there for some reason, and I went in there and they had it. And I think I got it for $17.99, but right now they've got a special this month where this is $16.99. So I could have saved $1, but I didn't know what was going to happen. But I believe that's what did happen. Imported and bottled by Wide World Importers, Frankfort, Kentucky. You say, I wonder what distillers bottling that in Frankfort, Kentucky. Well, you don't have to wonder too long because it says right here, very small, we love to hear from our customers. Sazerac.com. So that's Buffalo Trace Distillery doing the bottling. Who in Scotland is doing the production? This I do not know. But they're not trying to hide the fact that Sazerac's handling their private label WD liquors. Now I do like the label. It's black, gold, and white with a little bit of red here on the word import, with the word imported, and on the wax seal, which is not really wax, just a drawing of wax. It's got a clipper ship, pen and ink drawing of a clipper ship. So they do a good job with the label. It's basic, but it's fine. Now there is no private label Scotch for Walmart that I've noticed. There's Caliber Canadian whiskey, but I've not seen any thing for Scotch. There was Grand Legacy Scotch that I saw over for a pharmacy chain, but they cut out Grand Legacy. That was another Sazerac thing. But I didn't buy it. I was like, I'll get it one day, and then they didn't have it anymore, so I'll probably never see it again. I'm not missing much. It might be the same product just with the Grand Legacy label on it, to tell you the truth. So anyway, although when I was on the phone with Buffalo Trace some time back, about less than a year ago, the lady was telling me, we never take the same recipe and just rebottle it with another label. That's what she said. She said each of our products is its own recipe. Although, are they considering this one of their products? I guess with the name Sazerac on it, they are. But the recipe differences might be so minuscule that it, in a practical sense, it may not be any different. So there's no age statement on this Scotch whiskey, but we know that the minimum aging for Scotch is 3 years, so it's probably minimum, considering the very low price. This is the first video review for this product in the world. And it's not rare, though. If you live in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, or Florida, it's probably very common because most Winn-Dixie stores, well, in Louisiana, that would be all Winn-Dixie stores sell liquor. And they always carry these brands, and I always see them in stock, and it looks like they move. So this bottle says 2023 on it. That's when I bought it. It's taking me a while to get to it. Alabama, Mississippi, they might have a... In Florida, it does, for sure. Florida has a separate WD liquor store, usually attached to the grocery. Same thing in Texas. They'll have Fiesta grocery store, and then next to it, Fiesta Liquors. You got to walk out the front store and then go in the front of it because these ridiculous laws. But in Louisiana, they sell it right there in the store on the shelf, like any other grocery item. Okay, so the appearance is pale caramel, but more straw than caramel, honestly. So it's definitely not a dark product, and it's given me the impression that maybe they're not spending the extra penny or whatever to color it. I don't think they're too worried about, you know, batch color consistency and all that, because they know people are buying this stuff invariably for making a highball and that kind of thing, for parade parties or Halloween parties, things like that. People are not sitting by the fireplace sipping on this and contemplating the events of the day or the elaborate construction of the product. I don't have a WD liquor glass, although I wouldn't be totally shocked if they had made those in the past for like Christmas promotions or whatever. Buy this many groceries, get 2 Scotch, WD Scotch glasses, because they do that kind of thing at that grocery chain and many other grocery chains. This is a Buchanan's blended Scotch whiskey glass. Okay, I broke one of them, an accident, unfortunately, but I have one left. Aroma, yeah, standard. Just a touch of compost pile and sugar grain sweetness, like sugar, sweetness, and grain is what I should be saying. Not overly sweet. Another brand that you get from Sazerac is Highland Mist. It might be under the Barton brands, I think it is, because they bought Barton in 2009. And in Highland Mist, it'll say they use single malts from the 4 regions, the Highland, Lowland, Speyside, and Islay. And that Highland Mist will have just a little touch of smokiness. Well, let's see about this one. I'm thinking this is probably 80% grain alcohol, grain whiskey, because, you know, like I said, got to be aged in wood for 3 years. Can't do like the United States where they can use up to 80% unaged grain spirits. Doesn't even have to go in the wood. Although, if you read the regulations, it has to be stored in wood. Grain neutral spirits have to be stored in wood. Well, if they're being stored in wood, maybe a big wooden vat. Maybe only for a week, right, till they use it. But still is aging, although, you know, it's not charred oak and it's not much, but it's still, that is what they say. And then people will say it's vodka. No, vodka can never touch wood. If you read the regulations, it can never touch wood. And it's definitely not aged or stored. You know, it has to be kept in stainless steel. But anyway, let's get back to this. So this is all grain, and it's all aged. That's what the point I'm trying to make. But obviously not premier stuff. Because you don't get a handle of premier Scotch for $16.99. But anyway, it might be all right. I'll find out right now. It smells fine. Tastes chiz. It tastes like caramel candy. Not kidding. It tastes like caramel candy, like a Werther's Original or something like that. There is no smoke and there's no peat. It's just sweet caramel candy. Is there any woodiness in it? There's a shadow of that. Do they allow flavoring to be added to Scotch over there? I don't know. I know in the United States and Canada you can add flavoring to blended whiskey. Although if you read the regulations, NTE not to exceed 2.5% of the volume of harmless coloring and flavorings. I read the Scotch regulations, ukgovernment.com, whatever that is, and they didn't mention flavorings pro or con. In other words, they didn't mention them. They didn't say whether you could or could not add it. whether you could add it or not add it. It wasn't mentioned, so that I'd have to do further research. But boy, this is something. So it tastes like grain alcohol, corn, ethanol, basically. That you pick that up sometimes in really inexpensive American blends, like sometimes you get that with like Kentucky Dale. I was at a rather expensive French Quarter restaurant last week or earlier this week, and I asked the bar, because I was ordering takeout. I was just waiting by the bar. I said, "What kind of whiskey do you use for your well whiskey?" And she pulled out. I said, "Oh, Kentucky Dale." She said, "Yep." And that's usually the cheapest whiskey on the shelf at any store around here. Kentucky Dale or the Heaven Hill Quality House Kentucky blended whiskey. But when you drink those, you'll pick up those grain spirits. It just tastes unaged because they are unaged. And this is kind of showing that, but I know it has to be 3 years. Medium body, semi-sweet finish. Some people tell me I hate Scotch because they hate the peatiness, they hate that compost pile, that smokiness or whatever. You know, strange flavors that they perceive as strange. In Scotland, it would be perceived as normal. But they might like this because it doesn't taste like Scotch. It tastes like, I say, caramel candy. It's going to get killed in all the taste challenges. I cannot see this winning any taste challenge with all the blended Scotches I have. I cannot see that happening. I cannot believe it could happen. So I think, but this is hard to say because when you do blind, it's difficult. But I think that it really would be 100% losing, and I would get it right every time. I'll pour a little bit more for a photo. Minimum oak. There's some bread. A lot of caramel sweetness. I would call this a very bizarre product. And I can't say, oh, it's light damage, it's old, it sat on the shelf and got old. I cannot say that because I bought it in 2023 and the bottle says 2023. And there's always fresh bottles. If I go to that Winn-Dixie, like I said, half a mile away right now, every bottle I look at is going to say 24 on it. I just know all the codes going to say L240 whatever. This is the 37th day of 2023 at no, never mind. I don't know what that code is, but I'm pretty sure it's L230 in a series of numbers. I'm sure that's 2023. The rest of it, I don't know. That's probably how they could track it to what distillery it's coming from or distilleries. We know it's bottled at Buffalo Trace Distillery. You go in a Buffalo Trace store, you're not going to see this. You will not see this being packaged. And look, I think the time is showing, like I said, I can't quite figure out the code. But I think the time is showing 20 hours and 4 minutes. It could be 4.3043 minutes. It could be showing the second even. But that would be nighttime when the tours are over. When you go to a Buffalo Trace store, they want you to see Buffalo Trace being bottled, or Old Charter, or Eagle Rare, right? Or even Benchmark, or Ancient Age, or Blanton's for sure, because I went in the Blanton's bottle and they have their own bottling house. But they don't want you to see this being bottled, or Paddy's Irish Whiskey being bottled, or Canadian Mist being bottled. No, they don't want you to see that. Because what do they want you to think? Bourbon, 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 bourbon. And that is what Buffalo Trace is all about. But it's not what it is, but it's not really what it's all about. They do a lot of other work there. Bottling bottle and imported things and other extremely inexpensive American produced things. Oh well, it's all right. It's not a tragedy. Does it taste good? No, it doesn't not taste good. Does it taste definitively bad? It doesn't taste bad. For the style, it is bad. It's a D- for the style. For Scotch, or the class of whiskey, Scotch whiskey, because the class is whiskey. The type is Scotch whiskey. Class, whiskey, type, bourbon, blended bourbon, Scotch whiskey, Irish whiskey. Okay, so for the type of whiskey it is, blended Scotch, it's a D-. It's a 60 out of 100. It's terrible. No Scotch should taste like this. It's just a blended whiskey of whatever type. I mean, it's okay. It's more like a C-. Like, it's sort of average. I'll give it a 70 out of 100. A C-. It's definitely not a drain pour. That would be below a 60. That would be an F. That means you cannot drink it. It is undrinkable. It cannot be consumed. It will make you sick. It's that bad. I've never run across a liquor like that. But this is not something that you should ever bring to a party, even if it's a Halloween party or a parade party. Don't bring this. You say, well, I don't want to spend a lot on Scotch. Well, get Highland Mist. It's $16.99 at Albertsons on sale this month. Or it was last month. I saw it. That is profoundly better than this. Embarrassingly better. But this has been sold by Winn-Dixie for decades. I remember this when I was 5 years old. They would have get-togethers, and this would be on the table, and people would, but they wouldn't drink it straight. They're all mixing it. So really, you say, yeah, but it doesn't matter because it's just a base liquor product for mixing. That better be all it is. Which is why there are no reviews for it. Okay, or any written reviews for it. So the only thing this thing's got going for it is the pretty label with the pen and ink drawing. Otherwise, it's a catastrophe. The Canadian blended whiskey wasn't too bad. It wasn't exactly great, but it wasn't too bad. It was a little heavy-handed on the vanilla, though. You know they were going up to the limit of the Canadian flavoring allowance, which I think is like up to 9, almost 10% of the volume. They went all the way. This is... One last sip. That caramel in the nose is unreal. You say, but that's not a bad aroma, caramel. I know, but for this it is. There might be a little bit of that peaty compost pile thing. That is so minimal. If you drank this blind, though, you would never think that. You would just think, like, is this a caramel whiskey or something? You might think that. Nobody maybe buy it. I bought it. Now I'm kind of scared. Like, what is their rum going to taste like? What is their tequila going to taste like? I never bought their vodka to find out. Maybe one day I will when I finish my other vodkas with my mix-ups, if I can find any more pure sugar soft drinks. Oh, but this, yeah. So 70, C-, and I'm being generous, really, I think. But maybe it's more like just in the D range bad. But I'm going to give it a 70, C-, because I do like to taste the caramel. But this is... It is shocking because I thought it was going to taste like Scotch. I wasn't expecting much, but this is beyond the pale. So thanks for tolerating this video if you could tolerate it. And I'm going to end this review by saying, woe is me. I got all this to drink. Well, thankfully in taste challenges over many years, so I will only very rarely revisit it. But this bottle will last basically a lifetime. Thank you. And I'm sorry.